Welcome to this explainer. We're jumping right into Chapter 8 of the Bhagavad Gita today, but we're doing it through a totally unexpected lens, modern science. We're going to look at how scholars translate this deeply profound ancient text into a framework that, honestly, it rivals modern physics. We're talking a scale that goes all the way from the microscopic, biological atoms inside your body out to the absolutely mind-bending lifespan of the entire universe. It is a fascinating look at how ancient minds visualized the fundamental mechanics of reality, way before we had modern microscopes or telescopes.
I mean, think about it. It sounds exactly like the setup for a massive sci-fi blockbuster, right? What on earth connects ancient mysticism with atomic theory, human biology, and the sheer vastness of the cosmos? But here's the thing, this isn't sci-fi. It is the literal, structural reality laid out in the ancient texts we're unpacking, by mapping out absolutely everything from the cellular level to the extreme limits of time and space. This chapter attempts to decode the basic machinery of existence, and it does it in a way that feels surprisingly relevant to our highly scientific modern world.
So this chapter is known as Akshara Brahma Yoga, and it essentially kicks off with the ultimate metaphysical Q&A session. You have Arjuna, the warrior prince, turning to his guide, Krishna, and he just drops the biggest questions imaginable. Yes, what is Brahman? What is the individual soul? And then the really big one, how are you to be known at the exact time of death? To answer these massive existential mysteries, the text hands us a blueprint that scales from the incredibly small to the unimaginably huge. It's basically an ancient theory of everything.
Okay, let's start small, like absolute microscopic level, with a concept called Adhyatma. If you think of the Supreme Brahman as the ultimate, universal power grid, the foundational energy of all reality, then Adhyatma is how that power dwells locally inside of you. It's that eternal, imperishable spark, the individual soul. It literally plugs into that universal grid and animates this biological machine that we call the human body. It is the life force, completely localized.
Now, what is genuinely mind-blowing here is how precisely the ancient commentaries, specifically from the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, attempt to actually measure this soul. They don't just, wave their hands and call it some mysterious spirit. No, they describe it quite literally as a spiritual atom. By their calculations, this spark is 1/10,000th the size of the tip of a single hair. It's a localized fragment of pure consciousness, vastly subtler than the material atoms, quarks, and subatomic particles that modern physics is obsessed with today. And yet, it's treated with the exact same level of scientific precision as a physical element.
And this perfectly illustrates where modern biology and ancient texts so beautifully intersect. See, medical science is brilliant at tracking the mechanics of our bodies, right? It shows us exactly how red blood corpuscles diligently carry oxygen from our lungs to power our cells. But the ancient text argues that science is really only looking at the hardware and completely missing the power source. The atomic soul, seated right there in the heart, is described as the underlying battery. The exact second that tiny spiritual spark leaves, the heart stops, the oxygen delivery completely halts, and the whole biological machine just shuts down.
So, zooming out from cellular biology to the arc of a complete human life, we inevitably hit the ultimate transition, death. But what's really striking here is that the Gita doesn't treat death as this terrifying absolute end or a fade to black. Instead, it treats it essentially as a final exam. It is a critical, instantaneous test of absolutely everything you have cultivated in your mind, your habits, and your consciousness over your entire lifetime. And you only get one shot at taking it.
The mechanics of this final exam are strict. It's almost like a law of physics. The core rule is this. Whatever state of being you remember when quitting your body, that exact state you will attain in the next. The sources explain that throughout our lives we accumulate what they call vasanas, these deeply rooted, unmanifest desires. Think of them like a psychological algorithm, or maybe the predictive text engine built from all your life's choices. At the exact moment of death, your accumulated search history of desires, your total mental absorption, literally projects your next existence. When you realize that your next life depends entirely on your absolute last thought, well, a sudden sense of urgency definitely sets in. If a person has, say, roughly 50 years of life remaining, the sources warn that this is just a brief, fleeting window. 50 years might sound like a long time to us, but it is barely enough time to train a perpetually wandering mind to achieve the ironclad focus required for that single defining final moment. It is quite literally a lifetime of preparation for a split-second test. And the commentaries present a pretty stark contrast to how we live today in the modern world.
I mean, we pour billions of dollars in unimaginable scientific effort into building rockets, trying to master the material universe and reach the moon or Mars. Yet we almost completely neglect the inner effort required to elevate our own consciousness. We are absolutely determined to conquer outer space, but we remain entirely helpless, completely untrained when it comes to navigating our own minds and guiding our own spiritual trajectory.
All right, now let's zoom all the way out to the ultimate macro perspective. The text scales up to a staggering concept of cosmic time, 4.32 billion terrestrial years. And this isn't just a random big number they threw out there. It represents a single day of Brahma. What is absolutely incredible to me here is how this ancient timeline perfectly rivals the vast scales of modern astrophysics. In fact, 4.32 billion years is astonishingly close to modern science's estimate for the age of the Earth itself. These ancient scholars were conceptualizing deep time literally millennia before modern geology even existed.
Just as we have our own biological rhythm of waking up and going to sleep, the ancient texts tell us that the entire universe breathes. During the 4.32 billion-year day of Brahma, the universe manifests. It's a period of massive cosmic evolution and activity. Then follows the night of Brahma, an equally long period where absolutely everything dissolves back into unmanifested darkness. It's an endless, repeating cosmic cycle of expansion and contraction, bringing forth multitudes of beings and then merging them back again and again. It sounds incredibly similar to modern theories of an oscillating universe, doesn't it?
Navigating these immense, billions of years-long cosmic cycles, souls essentially travel one of two eternal paths. First, you have the bright path, the path of light. Here, an enlightened yogi departs, achieves ultimate liberation, and completely escapes the gravitational pull of this temporary world forever. Alternatively, there is the path of darkness, where a soul departs in ignorance. They might enjoy temporary heavenly pleasures, sure, but inevitably, they are pulled right back down into the material cycle of rebirth, forced to repeat the whole process all over again.
Now, it is really important to remember that these grand concepts, from the subatomic soul all the way to universal dissolution, they aren't just poetic allegories or casual myths. They are anchored in a rigorous, deeply ancient textual tradition. These commentaries serve almost like ancient peer-reviewed journals of human consciousness. They are meticulously debated philosophical systems translated across centuries, specifically designed to offer humanity a highly practical, step-by-step guide to ultimate liberation.
So, the big question, how do we actually apply this profound science today? The commentary emphasizes a really crucial concept called abhyasa. It warns us that escaping to the path of light requires steadfast mental practice. Now, to be clear, this does not mean running away to meditate in a cave somewhere. It means keeping your spiritual focus running in the background of your mind at all times. Think of it almost like an operating system or a background app running silently on your phone, even while you are actively engaging in your busy daily duties. It's the incredibly challenging habit of continuous, unbroken mindfulness.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway from this ancient text. If the file exam of life simply tests the accumulated, deeply ingrained habits of your mind, and if your next destination is determined entirely by your daily mental focus and your deepest desires, I want to leave you with this question to think about. What are you focusing on today? Because right now, in this very moment, amidst all the noise and distraction of the modern world, where is your attention currently taking you?